I feel like I've seen enlightenment, and I thought it was going to be about levitating and telekinesis, and it's actually just about an increased awareness of how annoying I am. See the thing that the black plastic is recycled electronics.
Says who?
It says several TikToks.
Oh, well, if TikTok says it, it must be true.
Yeah.
All black plastic is recycled electronics.
Well, it's got it in there. It's recycled plastic, and it's the quote unquote dirtiest recycled plastic. So, and it does have like electronics, recycled electronics in there. So like cool that they're recycling the electronics. Bummer that I feel like that's the primary plastic used for food. So like when you take home or you order takeout and they send it in that, the black plastic.
Are we getting,
container.
what is this? What do we do with this information? The more and more crazy amounts of information that come out about like something that has existed for a while is actually some other thing, you know?
Was the veil lifting, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's kind of what I'm saying in a joking way, but also it's just like, there's sometimes where I'm like, a piece of information like that comes out and I'm like, oh, interesting. That feels true. Oh, damn. Okay. I don't want to be a part of that. Okay. Just no more plastic forks. Okay. You know, or like I am tempted. It's obviously the information's trying to get me to worry about something and change. But then it's also like, well, this is part of the truth. And the things that are being revealed is like all of it. You know, you gotta have to take back what you think about reality to not, you have to like completely let go of that. So I'm just like, sometimes the information
Like my two cents. I mean, when I see stuff like that, I can like panic, but I've just resigned to everything's poison. It just kind of is what it is. We're in this transition. Maybe I make it out. Maybe I don't, but like, I think what's happening is the cross of planning was all about collective like standardization, homogenization, making things at scale, and I think by the time we get all of this shit revealed to us, people are going to be very naturally like, to make something at scale means to make it suck. Do you know what I mean? And so
with this many people.
Yeah. And so eventually people are going to get to the place where it's like, I grow my own food. That way I know it's not poison. I learn my own things, and this is not tomorrow. This is over the course of, the next 50 years. But I think that's what it, like, I think, and it's almost like it wasn't made out of electronics before we started to move in the cross of Sleeping Phoenix. Do you know what I mean? Or like, I don't know, it's just that kind of thing boiling underneath, but it's just natural. I think when you leave one era and go into another era, that there is a shift in the story that like kind of villainizes the old way of doing things, you know, and that can be really destabilizing and really scary. And, especially if you don't have the context that this is just like, oh yeah, this is how this is going to, like, all the things we thought were great, we're going to find out aren't great. And that's going to push us in the direction of a new game.
Yeah. And it really is kind of like it's everything, but it's because it's not that everything is inherently bad. It's just everything has been crafted and created from a certain perspective or a certain desire in reality to like get to a certain experience collectively. Like we have been innovating and creating things with a certain motivation, which I guess is like, all in all, it's just capitalistic kind of ideas. But these kind of things always get me like messed up, and I think this is part of the intention, is that the information, everything's poison, so it creates, I know in me, like the more I find out of something that I'm using, like could be making it harder for me to be in reality, making me sick or slowly killing me. So I readjust and try to find the clean one. You know, like with water, it's like you're just fucking, okay, don't drink out of the sink. Okay. Okay, now don't drink out of water bottles either. Okay, only certain water bottles, not plastic, only glass. Okay, but now some of the glass companies are actually hijacked too because everybody went to glass. And so then it's like every time you move the freaking needle, there's another issue.
Yeah. Watch out for mold. Now it's lead.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, I've paid too close attention to that thing sometimes where I feel like I'm going to become bubble boy and just like put a bubble around me so I don't, and then I'm like, oh, that's a mechanism of the game too. It's like get me so squirreled out that I'm scared of everything. And then I'm like, okay, well, how do you, if this is all collapsing, like how do you reorient? Like, how do you start making plastic silverware for an entire world without it being electronics? You don't. So then, okay, no plasticware. So then if I start to apply that to everything, it's like,
not necessarily no plasticware, but things are not going to be, in my opinion, things are not going to be made for the entire world. Yeah.
And so what I'm getting to is you eventually stop making half the things.
Yeah.
Now I got to think about the reality in like my day-to-day, the average person's day-to-day is relying on a plethora of different mechanisms like that so they can go about their daily habits or work. And so when all of that leaves, you do have this like idea of a reality that does have to go back to a different way of living. And we see that usually as not innovative. It's like going backwards, right? Like,
right.
And nobody wants to do that. So we would rather be comfortable not paying attention that we're being poisoned and just go with what's going, even though we know it's corrupt. It's like, try to eject yourself from that. It's impossible almost. And so then I just start thinking, my mind gets to like kind of hopelessness at a certain sense when you're looking at it from that perspective. However, none of this is considering the hyperdimensional part of reality, and that it is all meant, like it all is information. So like whatever information is being fed to you that you're believing is the reality that you live. That whole topic, which is where I think that's the path forward. So that is like Cross the Sleeping Phoenix. It's I think the change can actually come very fast to get rid of the destruction of that and not have to go backwards. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it's literally having to pull your mind out of all of those programs that it's sometimes like I don't know, it's really hard to do all at once. I don't know what point I'm making, but I'm trying to, it's like it just feels like we're getting closer and closer to it needing to have a actual paradigm shift like in the mind to sustain any kind of future. Like it's not a light thing.
Yeah. Hi, we're back.
Yeah, you just got stressed by my rant.
No, I guess I just want to set this tone first. So we've recorded a few episodes, and we are both under the influence of, these energies are a little rough. And we're getting acclimated to the shift of Neptune and Saturn in Aries. And so we recorded an episode that we recorded several we didn't put out. And then we recorded a Neptune and Aries one that when I was editing it back, and this was weeks ago, I don't know. We've got a lot of stuff personally going on that we're not going to talk about here, but we've got some other really kind of heavy things happening in our lives, in other people's lives. So not our story to tell, but people close to us. And I feel like when I go to edit the episode, I can just hear the grief and the pain and the like struggle, and then I get self-conscious about the fact that when I'm in that state, I get, I don't know, my energy gets really big. And I also have a lot of Aries placements. So I get self-conscious about my own intensity sometimes. And then I also get, when I'm struggling and I'm going through stuff, like I'll talk about like my feelings or whatever, but I start to hold on pretty tight to optimism. I don't know, I'm very like kind of optimistic. And so it just didn't feel like the optimism that I will kind of intensely put forth as like, yeah, but here's how this could be positive or whatever, I think sometimes doesn't match the energy. And I don't feel like I'm in the state to have people like yelling at me in the comments or whatever. So I had a panic attack and pulled the episode back down. And then you've been going through stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting to hear. That's what you experience that as. But I'm like kind of, I know what I'm experiencing is something that like this darkness, a kind of like liminal space of melancholy, this thing that haunts me my whole life, does become like super debilitating at times. And I think you've done your podcast a lot of basically sharing what is going on with you in the moment, right? Like,
yeah.
And that's why people gravitate towards it, because it is very authentic and true, and it helps people. But then there's things, and we try to do that on this podcast a little bit, without it being like super personal. But I think and kind of what I was getting at to my rant earlier that'll probably be taken out, but there's like, I get the feeling that we're getting closer and closer to this like pressure cooker kind of starting to overflow. And that's hitting everyone's energy in unique ways, because depending on individually how far you are along in deprogramming a lot of the things that run the system, like run your mind, that it, at certain points, like it gets so heavy and dark. I think it has to be done kind of alone. And I mean alone, like not on, like it can be on a mic, but there's a like traversing deep like caverns of the mind that are still kind of there, that you've been able to like spiritualize and get like, you kind of bypassy with. And this is like what I discovered in the last fucking month or something of what I've been sitting in with this, is that usually those deeper caverns I've traversed always with like some kind of spiritual mental idea to bypass it. And then I've also used substances, and both of those ways provide different new programs that are hidden, that are hiding the real programs. And I've had to like navigate both of those by, at times not having any vice to grab. And then all of these things come up and it's really difficult. And that, for me, like having to do that in my mind and in my daily life, and then also talk about like esoteric stuff or thing, it's really difficult. And it's really difficult to even talk about the thing that's honestly going on, because I don't know if I'm lying to myself at certain times, right? You're having to kind of like really get into the depth of it, which can bend you out of shape and break you. It can make you, have psychosis and stuff. So there's a part of me that I think in the early part of the winter that was resisting a lot of that, through
resisting just going into that like melancholy.
Yeah, going into another level of it and being forced and like, don't grab the vice, and me trying to trick my own mind in a way. When you have the spiritual ideas of things, you can kind of really like wishful think a lot of things and put it aside. And the closer and closer, the further along we're getting to this pressure cooker, like coming up, I realized like this, at least this last winter for me, it was just, there was something I hadn't looked at. Like I had kind of bypassed a lot of it, and I'm still kind of figuring out what it is, but I know that I was keeping like a lid on it, thinking, it'll go away once I enlighten, or once I get up out of this program, it'll not exist.
Yeah.
And I'm like getting more and more clear messages like, no, that's not it. Like the whole thing has to be cleared out. Which just means like, really, where is the deep, deep part of your authentic expression in every single moment? Not just when you're on the mic, not just when you're with a family member or a stranger or whatever, why, like, we're just, the programming of masking for a certain thing at any given time is so deep and so complicated that to go through that and really deprogram it, I think, is like kind of an alone thing. And I don't necessarily mean like alone in a room by yourself.
Right.
I can be with you and be doing daily things, but I'm internally, like, I am trying to observe every decision I'm making is like, where is that coming from? Am I trying to manipulate? Am I motivated by a fear? What is it? And it's just really, it's like detailed surgical work or something. And I think it's hard to do anything else, literally anything else.
Yeah.
And the pressure cooker is an energy, but it's expressing itself differently in every single person, depending on where you honestly are at, like your frequency, not the way you present and the way most people see you. Like, where are you at when you're by yourself? The pressure cooker is going to like play itself out in whatever way. It's going to put pressure on whatever you're not paying attention to, essentially.
Yeah.
For some people, that could be like, a relationship that's not good that you've just been, overlooking for a long time. It could be fucking habits. It could be anything. And that's also why I think it's like the collective culture right now is so fucking wild and crazy. It's because everybody's getting that. And then also they're being fed more information to freak out about. It's like, this is just poking the fire,
Right. I'm not going to take out that part at the beginning. I just thought that this context, I knew we were going to.
Yeah, I feel like that rant was like put the cart before the horse. I just like started talking, and I feel like it is helpful to set up that it's like.
I love that, like that thing though, where you get a little piece of what's, I like that. So I'm planning on leaving that in, but yeah, I think that that's definitely the kind of space you've been in. And then I don't really know how to articulate what I'm saying. I felt like every time I would go back and listen to the podcast, I'm like, wow, I can hear so much more grief than I feel like I'm experiencing on a daily basis. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can tell I'm in pain, because when I'm in a lot of pain, I do this like, I bypass, I guess, by like hyper independenting, you know what I mean? And so the episode was just kind of about like, I don't know, like personal power. And I believe the things that I said, but I could just hear in the frequency, maybe other people couldn't even hear it. Like, I could hear how much pain, I'm in.
And like anger almost.
Yeah. And then we're just both kind of irritable with this. And this happened last year, because I remember we did that Neptune and aggro episode. It took us a while to adjust to this Aries energy. So we're just kind of, I think this is happening kind of collectively, but we're moving from this kind of collective emo thing to this collective aggro thing. And so everyone's just quicker to anger, and, we're seeing like more violence, and it just takes a minute to adjust. And it just was feeling like we're both in this liminal space, and we haven't really adjusted to the new energy yet. And so I feel like all of my opinions are about to change. I feel how transformative these shifting energies are going to be. And it feels deeply vulnerable and almost like not safe to try and like publicly share perspective when I'm like, oh, I'm in like I haven't adjusted to this energy yet. You know what I mean? So we just decided to do the authentic thing, and that is like not force it. There really is no reason. This podcast is about, sharpening our own authenticity. And so, I don't know.
There's no reason to call it in.
Yeah. Or force it. So I don't know if I'll put that now that we've done another episode, and put an asterisk by it that episode might be a little bit intense. It was right when those shifts happened, so we were very intense.
I feel like it was a good one. I don't remember really what we said now, but I do remember it feeling good at the time.
Yeah. So back to the finding out that everything is poison, and the constant, the shifts. I think that this is an exciting time to be alive, because you're watching the game change from one game to a completely different game. But that transformation is not nothing. Do you know what I mean? So if you're an adult, and I would say maybe even the older you are, the more painful it might be, because you have experienced a semi-functioning version of the cross of planning, So I would say if you're over 30, that this is, it's an incredible transformation in a good way and also a very painful way, and also what the cross of planning versus what the cross of sleeping phoenix means. Like the cross of planning is, you know, not about self-awareness, not about feeling your feelings. It's about kind of like pick one thing and be the cog in the wheel, and you're not alone. You have everyone else. Everyone else is making the decisions for you. Everyone else is, and so it's just a completely different game. And there is a deep melancholy with the cross of sleeping phoenix that does remind you constantly that the things that you need are inside of you. And so, I didn't realize what a comfort chasing things outside of myself was. I didn't realize how much chasing something outside of myself felt like the point of life. I didn't realize I was doing that, to be honest. But like now this thing where it's like, what's the point? Kind of this existential, what's the point? Because you reach the part of awakening where you go, I'm not going to be happy if I'm famous. I'm not going to be happy if I'm rich. I'm not going to, not that it's not easier in some ways to have money, but it like that thing we're chasing, but we're actually on a hamster wheel the entire time. When you wake up and realize a hamster wheel, like that's a difficult, like risk of wanting to just kill yourself, point in reality that a lot of people do, and then you get to the point where it's like, you have to stop altering, otherwise you can't go further. That's not everyone's experience, but you've experienced that. And then it's like, okay, well now there is no escape for this feeling, because this feeling actually is just part of it. You're just going to have to learn to live with this feeling, And then it is difficult to even imagine what does a world look like where I don't get my fruit from across the world, and there isn't just a standardized thing I can buy. You know what I mean? I don't think we go back to hunter-gatherer, but I do think we are about to experience an increasing level of limitation that's going to force us into innovation, and I think that limitation is going to come from changes in the climate, corporate greed. Like these guys are just going to destroy everything that needs to be destroyed. And it's going to be really hard not to get caught up in that story. I keep catching myself getting caught up in that story. And then I have to remind myself that like limitation is an oracle, and whatever they fuck up is meant to be fucked up, because we're meant to be forced to look at things from a different direction. So I'm going to try not to give that too much. Like I keep getting swept up in the data centers. They're fucking building these goddamn data centers all over the place and destroying the environment with that. And also that low level noise is super bad for consciousness, and they're just putting them everywhere, which I think is because they're trying to build an infrastructure for a surveillance state. And they want you to think it's your fault. So they're saying they're for AI, but I think they are really taking their best shot at getting everybody locked into some sort of digital matrix before it's too late, which I don't think is going to work. But then I'm like, then we just have these fucking things on the farm. It's like,
this is why when I start trying to play it out like that, it starts to get into like multiple timelines of what could actually happen. And that's why I'm like, I slowly keep coming back to this like hyperdimensional, like don't know other term to kind of put on it, that is a understanding the like mechanics that are within our bodies that can that function in the way that when I can be sitting in this room and take a psychedelic, I can take a certain psychedelic that for 20 minutes I will be in what feels like a completely different reality.
Right.
And then come back into this one. it's not necessarily going to like the experience of the psychedelic is what we're talking about, but that mechanism that allows your focus that is being controlled right now to like not be in control of somebody and it's only you. Like that for an individual, this world can be collapsing and you can phase right out of it into a different one and not experience any of it. Like and I think we all know that to be true on some form. We're all just learning the mechanics of that, where are the controls in the body. And the problem is they're all being overridden by like other programs that have become so natural that we don't think that there's anything wrong with it or that there's any other option. And that's like the thing that just keeps us locked into this. And of course, all the information and the ideas about advancements in technology right now they're trying to control our ideas of those, because then they can build the world with those. And so like that's all built on even seeing the nefarious plan that they have. Like, why is that? Some of those nefarious plans like trend throughout the world.
Yeah, because they get you to manifest your own shit.
Thing. Yeah. And
your own prison cell.
It's becoming more and more like these things that we've talked about in past, and a lot of people talk about through words. You manifest your own reality. What you believe is what happens to you, all of those things. And then and a lot of people aren't really embodying that yet. I think we're all trying, and we get glimpses of it here and there, and we like, oh, it's happening. And then we lose it again. It's so sensitive and so also affected by the rest of the world that it's like, I just am getting the sense that is becoming more and more a like door that is limiting people. Like we're all kind of limited by that, and it's being pressurized. And at some point, the only escape hatch out of this like kind of crumbling reality is that mechanism.
Yeah.
It's only that. And some people might even do it and find that mechanism on accident and like start pulling in. I think there are people doing that right now because it's balancing this pressure cooker. There is some kind of higher energy that is like allowing all of the crazy stuff to occur, but like bridling it just enough so you can pick up on the pressure cooker. And there's been times and times again, I think I'm done. And then sure enough, the pressure starts arising and I don't know where it's coming from and I have to figure it out. And then you get through that program and you realize, oh my God, that was running my day-to-day anxiety for a long time. And I recognize it now. Now I have to like practice the habit of not allowing that to jump in before, the real me does. So I think all of that, it's so complicated and it's individually based. And the only way to like figure it out is through your own experimentation, And I think this is also why I've started to kind of pull back on the dopamine seeking in more knowledge, and more ideas and more. That's starting to become, some of those are like bypass programs that get overlaid over your real problem that's underneath. And
like I'm looking for a mythology to make me feel like I can get off of this feeling. Yeah.
And the whole thing is all story-based. It's like we're driving and we're looking for narrative to make our story make sense. And those they're being given by a lot of distorted other people's games, even in consciousness and esotericism. Like that was all a thing, of course, the whole time. So yeah, it's the liminal depression, darkness that I get into is like, it's fucked up because it's and I'm sure other people experience this, but when you do have the thing you're describing where like you see that a lot of the things that are ideas that are given to us as paths of happiness and success don't work, or even worse, like make it harder. And then you also kind of understand that like offing yourself doesn't work either, right? Like it doesn't make the things go away, make the problems go away, or at least the way that I believe reality to be is like you're just going to pop into a different reality with the same problems. That's what becomes so hard for me is if there's no novelty, no meaning, essentially, then there's no escape. Like, what do you do? And I think the ultimate like the only answer that I've ever been able to like get to within that is the fear is there because like you've kind of always been given the reality that we're living in. And the fear is actually like, what would you do if you had the whole reality? Like, how would you build your own reality? What do you want? And how would you build it that it doesn't have cracks and crevices that capitalism or things that are corrupted can like find themselves, revealing themselves in your own reality? You know, the pressure about like stepping into your actual power would mean being a creator of your own reality. And there's like a lot of pressure to that when you start to understand all the like esoteric geometry behind it that is always under the guise of doing good, doing the craziest incorruptible shit. Corruptible, not incorruptible. That there's part of it to me, like as artistic and creative as I love to be, is terrified of that. It's like kind of scared to actually know and embody like being a creator in that way where you're like creating your own reality and you're responsible for everything that is happening in that.
Yeah.
Is what is so hard about right now is trying to like realizing by partaking in part of these programs that we're all just kind of let to believe, we allow certain things that are crazy dark to go on. So we're all kind of a part of it. You know, I'm manifesting this reality right now. That means I'm responsible for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Not in the way that it's like this big and heavy physically. It's just you're responsible for some part of the creating of the environment for those things to happen. And
I think that when we talk about creating reality, because we're all so deeply conditioned in this like hyper masculine materialist, scientific materialist reality, creating is almost too actionable of a word. Understanding that reality is a reflection of our internal experience. And a lot of it is the collective unconscious. And so it's the internal experience we're not even aware of.
Right.
And the shift from living in an unconscious reality to a conscious reality is becoming aware of your own unconscious. But the difference between playing what we've been playing, which is a hyper collective reality, if you look out there and you see the darkness and you see the power stuff or whatever, that is like taking personal responsibility is understanding that that is a reflection of also my unconscious. Right. And all I can do about it is go inward and find the parts of me that are corruptible by power, seeking power and, you know, and looking for things outside of myself and, you know, are extractive and are, parasitic, and heal those parts of myself. Like, you know, and part of healing them is accepting them and, you know, kind of finding why we have those fractures or whatever. But we are all conditioned into this inherently parasitic thing that happens when you let consciousness go unconscious for so long, you know, and doing that inner work rather than shadowboxing the thing outside of yourself. But then understanding that as in my understanding, like what it means to go into an individual reality means that the reality that you personally experience, especially as you like, people are going to really stop tethering to what's happening out there. It's going to get too chaotic. It's going to be too difficult to know what's true or not true. I can't believe how difficult it is right now to try to keep up with what's going on because it's AI, misinformation, whatever. And it's like, yeah, well, could they are not letting you see. Yeah, but also that's limitation as an oracle. So it's kind of just telling me like, get local to that's not on a screen that is like in my local environment and start to create realities that are capable of going higher and aren't controlled by people outside of myself and taking responsibility for living according to my personal integrity rather than rules that are handed to me. Like so many people's morality is given to them by people outside of them. And then I think we're also really seeing how many people want to shame other people into having the same moral compass as them, not understanding that just drives, you know what I mean? Like that just drives things. Whether or not something is socially acceptable does not create integrity or actual morals in people. It just determines whether or not they do it behind closed doors. And so the work of really like becoming a person of personal integrity and operating according to your personal integrity and understanding that different people have different codes of ethics, different people prioritize different things as moral, and then you're starting to like create smaller groups of people who have a resonant kind of code of ethics without having to be punished or shamed. And then you start to see things get created in a way that you can't create them at mass scale. And you can't create them in unconsciousness because what we're seeing right now is like, we have this code of ethics that we pretty unanimously, don't fuck around with kids. That's to me, it seems like something that should be.
It's a biological thing. If you like any kind of, it's just really basic if you think about it. Like the reason we're here is because we've had kids that grow up to be older. If you're abusing and hurting the kids, like you're killing your society, you're killing yourself. It's like, so it is one of the most basic standard things.
But so that hasn't stopped it from happening.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And as someone who I've been thinking a lot about, my childhood sexual abuse because it's everywhere you turn right now. And I've been thinking about, how when it happened to me, and it happened basically daily for 3 years, from the ages of 6 to 9, and the person was in a higher social, because my mom was a drug addict and sold drugs. So he was just in a higher, like a more believable, more respectable, because he was a part of a church. And back then that was a good place to hide. Now it's, and how the fact that we have collectively decided that it's bad and that it's against the law or whatever has not prevented this from happening. Do you know what I mean? It just drives it further into the hidden. And so I think that all of our beliefs around we're starting to see the corruption of the justice system. We're seeing the corruption of systems. We're seeing the corruption of concentrated power. We're seeing the corruption, these things are corruptible when they are given away to other people, and people are allowed to be in positions that make it easy for them to hurt children. You know what I mean? And so as painful as all of this is, I can see how as we're moving into an individual age, people are just going to, by the time we get through this fucking gauntlet of the next 5-10 years, people are just going to be, for the rest of the Cross of Sleeping Phoenix, no, we can't have systems, large systems. We can't have a social hierarchy that protects, because this is the point now where I'm if you are someone who has climbed the social hierarchy, I assume you hurt kids, because that's what that's the benefits of being in that position.
Yeah. The fucked up thing is it is kind of, it's maybe not they have directly done it, but the systems that are placing them and keeping them where they are all do.
Yeah.
The people that run those systems or are situated in those systems that have influence, they all do. And so that's what's is weird, because you're getting energy from that system, which is in the form of money and advertising and propping up. And so all of that, we can go, oh, this is great because they believe in me as an artist, as an individual. But so it's through the guise of something positive. You never really look at, wait, but the guy that's cutting the original check of all this is totally doing something that is dark beyond the profound. The only thing you can do is not Dark Beyond Profound. Yeah, sorry.
We got an episode title.
The only thing you can do is like not partake in it anymore. And that's and
I'm not. I just to clarify, I'm not, obviously not saying everyone in a position of power.
I know.
is doing
I
that.
was just using it as just thinking out loud about the intricacies of that system. It's my whole issue with fame and fucking notoriety of a system that is like so fucking dark. It's profound, or whatever I just said. it's like it's crazy, and there's no way to like not be a part of it energetically when you're getting funded and pushed by it, like it just isn't, it gives you material things, but the thing that it's like, it's so corrupted. So your reality eventually becomes corrupted. And that just means you're depressed when you're 90 and have no money, then so be it. If it means you live a life that is like just about taking from other people and it feels good, like very few people that have been like extremely successful and famous have a clean track record of their whole life. There's always some shit they get pushed into, or at worst, you get, fully MK Ultra'd into the thing. But let's just avoid another rant on fame and ugliness of celebrityism, but just couldn't help pointing that out.
Yeah, I just think the organizing ourselves into a collective hierarchy where some people are above others.
I think that's not going to even be like a thing, because like you're saying, it's like it's going to get revealed so much that all of that corruption, it was from the like having a ton of people that need to be organized or like led by this one system or person. Like it's going to be so hard to accept the corruption that had happened that everybody's just going to be like, I actually don't even care about what other people are doing.
Yeah.
It's too dark to trust anyone except like my immediate circle that I know I can trust and I have vetted and all of that, like, because it is going to be too risky.
I think about two things. Number one, I'm so grateful for these couple of things to give me context for things that I just kind of feel. One is the book Robes and one is human design. According to human design, we are leaving that one line and going into the 6th line. And the 1 line is about information. It's about feeling safe by gathering more information. That 1 line wants to build a foundation, right? And so that has turned everyone, including yourself, who's not natally a 1 line, into this investigator who is constantly looking for that esoteric information. Interestingly, the esoteric or the occult is also a construct, a piece of the construct in the cross of planning, or in that 6 line or the 1 line that we're in. So everybody kind of starting to feel less drawn to absorbing all of the esoteric information they can find for context. That's kind of winding down for everyone because we're moving into that 6 line in a year, less than a year now, 11 months. And so it's also fear motivation is that 1st line. So everyone's kind of starting to, I don't know, feel that like fever pitch or that dropping of the kind of fear and kind of starting to surrender. And the 6th line is really just, it's innocence motivation. It's the role model. So it's just kind of like, I'm just going to do this for the sake of doing it out of like curiosity. And I'm here to see what things look like. And it's a lot less intense. I think it is going to be one of the, one of the gifts of the intensity of the next 60 years is that we will not be experiencing that intensity under the influence of fear motivation. So, but we are getting this information overload, which I believe is a mechanism of that 1st line dying out. And it's getting to the point where we're like, I fucking can't. I can't, like, it's so much information. It's all contradicting itself, and people are just going to start checking out because there's propaganda and everyone says everyone else is lying and it's now you got AI in there. I believe that the AI slop is 100% the limitation that's kind of pushing us out of needing information outside of ourselves. And you're not going to have a choice, but just to be like, what does my body say? What does my body say for me? I can't go with the consensus. The consensus is all saying different shit. And in the book Robes, Jaleesa made fun of me the other day because I sent her an excerpt and she was like, is this that lady's book of predictions? And I was like, I love this book because I would have written this book. This is how I see it, but I don't have the fucking follow through to write a book. So I like this book, but it isn't some massive revolution where everyone overthrows the government. And it's not even a divestment because people put a lot of effort into divest. It's literally just exhaustion and then just kind of disillusionment and just like, I don't have time to, like, they just can't fuck with the system anymore because it's lying, it's corrupt, it's annoying, it's extractive. So this thing where the corporations are like trying to make your car you want to use the air conditioner in your car, it's a subscription. They're like, subscription this now with ads, and it's like I was already paying for not ads. I don't know what the fuck they think that's going to lead to, but like we've lately just been like, I'm not fucking with these subscriptions anymore, getting off of all of these trains. And it's like, if you make me rent the AC in my car, I just simply will not buy a new car. Like, I'll just never leave my house again before I let you push me into that. And this influx of PDA where everyone is becoming, because Across the Sleeping Phoenix is deeply about your own personal power, and people are becoming like so demand avoidant and so rebellious and obstinate that you're just like simply not going to be able to shepherd, I'm going to say, the majority of people into that. I think there will always be people who are compliant, but that percentage is going to get smaller and smaller. So anyway, just having that context of a lot of this is going to fall apart because it's just exhausting. And I just like simply don't have the energy to keep up with the information. And half the information is, I find as I'm trying to find out what's happening around the world right now, it's so fucking annoying to wade through what is obviously propaganda, and then what is obviously AI, and then what is, you have to wade through opinions to try to get to like, and then I don't know if what I'm looking at is real or I'm just like, ugh, okay, that fucking never mind. And that's how I feel about so many things right now. Like the entire way we engage with capitalism is changing very fast because I'm just so not even morally, I'm not talking about morally disgusted with consumerism. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, that's kind of where I start to get to. And I do think that's a big part of why there's an energy that's bridling the dark, like the collapse, is because there is a benefit from getting certain people that can see through all of it to like push it so far that you actually like have to disengage.
Yeah.
That there's like, even when you go partake in it a little bit, it's not fulfilling at all, that you just kind of eventually like, you really don't look outside yourself for the entertainment anymore. But I'm just starting to think here, like have felt this in the past. I don't know how to articulate it, but it like the thing that has become really clear to me is that movie that has Dax Shepard in it and one of the Wilson brothers, Luke Wilson. What is it? That was made a long time ago.
Idiocracy.
We've obviously seen like when Trump got in office and everything, it was like there was like clear people bringing up that movie again because it was like, we're living in this reality. And it's crazy when you watch that in the 90s, you go, oh, this is just so far in the future. If this ever happens, you think you'll never experience it. And I see more and more, like every year, a little bit more of that movie like seeding in and actually becoming reality. And I was watching the other night on Netflix, I was finishing up the Beast Games kind of series, a new one.
Very dystopian, by the way.
So dystopian and very much in that world. But still pulls you in because I like watching, I think we both enjoy watching social interactions and absorbing the information about how
people
react. Operate and react and all of that. It's really interesting. And that's why I'm like really pulled into it. But then something popped up and it was like a spinoff. Because in the last season, they did a combo thing with Survivor. So Jeff Probst came on and they did like kind of a Survivor Beast Games. And it was successful, I guess. So they did a spinoff where he's doing a Survivor-esque game show. And it's Mr. Beast just hosting it. And it's more kind of like Survivor, but it was not on an island. But the point is, I started watching it because I was like, oh, maybe here's another interesting social thing. And it is set up as if it is reality TV, like documentary, kind of like a lot of his other stuff. Some of his younger kid stuff, you can tell he's like acting and they're kind of putting the thing on, but it's become more reality driven. This one was presenting as reality, and it was so obvious that the two people that are the contestants are openly scripted, like to the point where it's not. You know, sometimes you can tell in these reality shows, like, oh, this is somewhat scripted. The interactions are set up so like a certain thing will happen, but it's still fun because they're kind of being intuitive in the moment and like improving. This was so bad that like I watched 5 minutes because I was just interested in the illusion of it all. But I could very quickly see the chaos and intensity of all the information and technology kind of centering into this point where everybody can make almost anything. And there's a desire to do that because there's a pile of money at the end. Has created this overload of information that's like fractal and crazy, but also like hypnotic in the ways that it's triggering on like human instincts that we want to watch what's going to happen next, you know? So it's like, it's technology. I mean, it is so advanced now. And if you can see through it even slightly, you start to watch it and it is just kind of like the noise fuzz screen. It's just a lot of information kind of all juicing out of the TV that you realize how hypnotic it all is for most people, that we're at this point with the split and there's like paradigm shifting that is going to pull a lot of people in, like the hypnoticness of like all that information and the entertainment and the way that it is like in your phone and at your ready click, like you can just swipe through the TikTok and get that information dopamine overload that at the end of the day, most of the time that information you get, you don't do anything with. Like even if it was some profound insight about conscious, it goes out the door because like you've just inputted a bunch of other information in between all of that like half the time when I get out of those TikTok rabbit holes that I'm mining for information, I come out and I'm like, cool, I feel like I just got drugged and I don't have any more energy to go even do anything with that information.
Right.
I'm just going to go to sleep or continue to scroll. So the whole thing to me is just becoming like, I really do see this fractal ball of like temptation to like get pulled into that mess. That's the point of they doing literally everything that they're doing right now. Part of it is revealing gnarly truths that they thought you would never be able to see, but they're going to do that right when they drop this other thing too of entertainment that like naturally is going to pull you enough away from that you won't do anything about it. And you're just going to keep going into the mix of different things that they're going to hand out to you as nutrition that is not nutrition at all. And I just think back about all these other transitions that we hypothesize about and that conspiracies have been built around, like Tartaria and Atlantis. These were all just similar points of juncture where information overloads the system and which is just parasitic energy, essentially. It's all it is. It's just like it sets up a reality to siphon off all those other people. Tartaria, it was like the Cabbage Patch Kid kind of thing. It's like they knew they could destroy this whole thing, get rid of a lot of those people, and then draw this new line of like society and time that they can kind of control from the beginning and keep an illusion going, and it's just happening again. It's just a different time of different substances and materials, society, thoughts, and everything. But it's just like another switch. And so when I think about that, I'm kind of like, it does two things. It makes sense that there's a lot of people that are going to go into it because I can sense the part of me that would do it in avoidance of some of these harder things.
Yeah.
It's much easier just to fucking watch Netflix and TikTok scroll and not think about it. And even if I have to go to the 9 to 5, doing that is like, there's some kind of cathartic thing in it that like feels easier than what you have to do when you're going inside yourself to like discover the darker parts. It's like so fucking challenging that I just think that occurs. I recognize that part of me in myself that sometimes wants to go do that because it's just easier, and that is something to learn how to like understand and discipline in some sense. But it also helps you like navigate the fucking fractal maze of chaos that like most of it is just distraction. If you can provide like meaning from some of the information that you get and actually put it into practice, then great. But all in all, the chaos, like ramping up this pressure cooker, I can sometimes very clearly see where some people go off into that digital world, the transhumanism thing. And there's so much to talk about in what that potentially is or has been, but it doesn't really fucking matter if you're trying not to choose that.
I think one of the things that's really, I have to go to the bathroom, but
So do I.
one of the things that's really going to tempt people to go into transhumanism is difficulties with the body and health.
Which I think is part of the point of why there's electronics in the goddamn fucking plastic forks and whatever. It's in everything. And it's getting to the point where it is affecting everybody. And I think that might be a last ditch effort.
I also think the they is becoming Mr. Gold from, what's the fucking movie called? Can we do a live stream where we watch a movie with a group?
Yeah, they're asking for that all the time on my Patreon.
Can we watch Revolver with the group on live stream?
Yeah, we should do that.
Okay. We're going to do that we'll do it on like the free Patreon or whatever. Revolver was such a massive, like, I went back to sleep when I got clean and had to kind of like wake up again without the use of stimulants. And I woke back up again in late 2007 and was really struggling to stay awake in 2008. And my husband at the time found that movie and then was like, you got to watch this movie. And that movie became like church for me. And every time I would start to fall back in, I would watch that movie again. And now when we talk about the they, specifically in the last like 6 months, the they has become such a nebulous placeholder for our collective disempowerment, like our collective unconscious disempowerment, that I'm like, that movie comes up over and over again. It's like, it's Mr. Gold in the movie. Like this, if you haven't seen Revolver, I won't spoil it, but it is like the whole movie is based around obsessing over Mr. Gold. And then at the end, you find out who Mr. Gold is. So I would love to watch that as like a group with, with everyone. We'll have to figure out how to set that up. Like, can we put it on?
We just do it like I did with the video game. You just stream it.
So they could watch it through our stream.
Yeah, and we could talk. We could pause it and talk.
It's not a copyright thing, or I guess there's probably not a lot of copyright over this 20-year-old movie.
And I don't think you could do it. I think if it's unlisted, it's fine.
Okay.
Like through the Patreon, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I'll look into it. But I think people with OBS are streaming all the time now. Like I've seen people stream music in the background and not getting it. If anything, it gets like demonetized, but we're not monetized on that anyways.
Okay. And we could pause it and talk. Well, I guess we wouldn't need to do that. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, but you can pause and talk. I got to pee too. Yeah, I'm trying to do live streams more consistently because it's part of the thing. I'm just trying to like force myself to be in a situation where you have to kind of respond authentically and
Yeah.
not overthink it. And so it's been really helpful. But then there's times where I'm just like, don't have the energy. There's times where I force myself, even that I don't have the energy, and it is always enjoyable and better than I expect it to be. But yeah, this darkness has been like the most brutal thing for me, where I don't have passion to do a lot at all.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a different word than darkness. A more descriptive word. Depression.
Yeah, but then you get into this, even the part where I'm at right now, it forces you in. It's like even labeling it the wrong word in your own mind can have an effect. So
Yeah.
it is depression, and darkness is maybe not the right. It's like trying to point to something, but I don't know. It's interesting because I understand that it's a misunderstanding. It's a misalignment of reality. The state that I feel in, where it's no novelty, no passion to do anything. Like there is nothing that I can like do that brings any kind of subtle satisfaction.
Right.
Know? And so that becomes this like melancholy state. But I understand like mechanically it's a lack of creativity. It's a lack of like life energy.
What's that word? Adonia? Are you familiar with that word? Let me find it. I only know this word now because of GLP-1s. It can be a side effect because the GLP-1s it affects your dopamine seeking. So some people get this thing called, that I'm probably going to pronounce wrong because I've only seen it written. No, I mean finding pleasure in nothing. No, it's a kind of depression that people get from GLP-1s where they don't find pleasure in anything. Okay. Anhedona. Oh, weird. It's got hedon in it. And I can't pronounce it. Anhedonia is the inability to feel pleasure from things that normally bring enjoyment. It's commonly described as feeling emotionally flat or numb, losing interest in hobbies, music, food, sex, and socializing. Maybe not all of it. Things that should feel rewarding just feel neutral or empty. It's a well-known symptom in conditions like depression, but can also occur as a medication side effect. People notice loss of motivation, emotional flattening, reduced libido, social withdrawal. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, but I'm never going to use that word to describe it because I don't fucking even know what you said. So back to depression or melancholy. We'll stick with those. Thank you, Encyclopedia.
I'm here to help.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, and I sometimes I get really annoyed with even trying to talk about it because I just feel like I talk about it all the time. I'm always melancholic it's part of the loop of what keeps me kind of in it is my resistance to it and desire to not be that way. The times that I'm jovial and fun and light and like can take anything that's heavy and big, just kind of just go with it, is so preferable. And I love that state. And I cannot sustain it for the life of me. And so I've had to like, every time it happens, I'm like, okay, just open up and go with it. This is what you're experiencing right now. If it's for some benefit, let's ride it out. And I will bend and pretzel myself into all kinds of shapes to like think that I'm accepting it, but I'm actually just bypassing it in these like advanced mental ways. And so it's like this is that thing where I think we all understand that that's just a part of reality, and it's like you got to go through the waves, and the lulls, you know, equal greater highs, and I like know all that to be true. It's just different when you're in it, and I think for me, one thing that I have noticed, and also like you hear a lot, but I legit I'm starting to notice more, is that I do in my head, I think we all think about this way because it's kind of given to us, but the ups and downs of life I do see as like a wave pattern, but it's going left to right. It's just like in a straight line. Like normally when you see a wave pattern, it's on a computer screen and it's left to right. So whenever I'm in the lows, I'm like, I'm back here again, the same spot, you know, because it is a lot of the times things that I have been challenging that I've started to try to fix come up later. And so I'll experience the bliss of like revelation that it's there, and I now don't have to it doesn't have to control me anymore. And so I go into an ecstasy high of clarity and like, oh God, everything's going to be fixed. And then sure enough, some other time I'm back into depression and the same thing is there again, kind of. And so it feels like I just went back to the starting and now I have to fucking start over again, which can be really difficult as far as somebody that's searching for novelty. It's like, I don't want to do this again. I already did this, didn't I? And so I think I've started to see it as this, like Bashar gave this great example. It's like this waveform in front of you is not left to right flat. It's constantly going up. So every low is not as low as the last one. It's just a little bit lower. But the low every time feels like an unknown. It feels scary and like it feels similar to before, but actually when you process through it and look at what you've done, honestly, you can go, oh no, my perception changed though. And so now I'm processing this old problem through a higher awareness, and I'm growing through all of that. And that's helped me kind of see that there is, and I can feel in my body more sensitive to things that I wasn't before because I've opened up programming and worked on it. And so there is this elevation that's happening. But when you're micro on it, it doesn't feel like that. You feel like you're back at square one, which causes a guilt, grief loop of its own that keeps you in that space, you know? Poor me. I fucking once had it, now I don't, you know?
Yeah.
All those narratives that just keep you down in it. And it's for me, I'm just realizing, you know, I'm having to kind of really accept that that's a part of my life and that there is a lot of benefit from it. Everything that I look back on when I was deeply depressed and got out of it, I'm so thankful because there was so much revelation from it. It was really difficult, but I know that to be true. And so I'm working on just accepting it more. And when it happens, like immediately go into, oh, interesting. Here's another one of those points where I'm going to mine for gold in the black abyss of myself. And it's a grueling process, but the gold is worth it. And I do think on some level, it's kind of to what you were saying earlier, hinting about the movie, but the ultimate, from a gameplay standpoint, Mr. Video Game Nerd over here now, I wholeheartedly understand the feeling that we seek through like the story of things and seeing oneself as this like, it's the hero's journey classic thing. It's like the most amplified story of hero's journey is to like be in a reality that you think is happening to you, and you have to find the perpetrators and the controllers, or you have to win and not lose. All of those things that create this system of like emotional roller coaster and experience. The ultimate hero's journey would to be like able to realize, like have experiences like that, and then finally get to a certain point where you realize legitimately it's you in your room somewhere playing a crazy advanced video game where you thought all these characters were somebody else, but like you're actually all of it.
Yeah.
And understanding that like fundamentally, and then having the experience of that is like this crazy ecstasy moment that is so profound. I can't help think that like there's a part of us doing that on the higher level that because I know it in me. Like when I play games where I'm seeking novelty in life, the most ecstatic novelty thing is when there's like a flip on it like that. There's some trick. You believe it's one way the whole time and you're struggling and you kind of get ahead and you have some satisfaction. And then finally you go, oh, I'm like all of it. But it's not just an idea. Like we all say that we're all one, cool. And then we go about our day not embodying that we're all one.
Right.
It's so difficult to actually get your head around. It's that ecstatic. It's that sought after that I just feel more and more that that's what's going on. And every time I'm in the dark places, it's like really hard to think that, because why would I be doing this to myself? But I do understand that there's always something great that comes from it. And like the capacity that we have to deal with that dark stuff is, I think, part of the trick. It's like, I think we have a lot of capacity to feel insane amount of pain and experience. And that's why we do this, because we extend that far in the opposite direction of that is the ability to just create whatever you want, you know?
Right.
But again, that's part of the thing that's like this such a scary thing. To do a direct flip from everything's happening to me to no, I'm controlling all of this. That means there's a huge part of the game we're playing right now, everybody's unconscious, because like we're all being controlled by the unconscious. It is you, but it's like unconscious. So.
You're not aware of it. So controlling is almost too, that's the thing I was trying to say earlier. It's like I'm creating reality through a reflection of what's going on inside of me.
Right.
And learning that mechanism, you know, because it causes almost that kind of hypervigilant OCD kind of thing. When you first hear that your thoughts create reality, you think every fucking intrusive thought is creating reality. But it's like most of the thoughts, quote unquote, being reflected back to you, I think is a more passive, because it is a passive thing. It's not it's not through the mode of control that the masculine reality would have you think, that is like reality is a reflection. And so all this shit going on inside of me that I don't face because of shame is being reflected back to me in reality, a lot of times through villains. And so starting to engage with reality as like, if something really bothers me, where is that inside of me? Why is this villain, quote unquote, villain in my life reflecting something back to me? And then just looking, like introspecting as a way of engaging with the difficulty outside of me has been life-changing, but it has required me to really face the part of me that was like fragile and could easily get overwhelmed and defensive and could easily get overwhelmed by shame, you know? And so to me, that going back to that like personal integrity and that accountability no longer being like an external punitive thing. You know, it always is. I don't really like the vibe of people who think accountability is them holding everyone else accountable. I'm like, where's the introspection? Where's the like, how come I never hear you talk about yourself, you know? And so I just think our ideas around that are going to shift. And so when I'm experiencing something that is difficult, I'm like, okay, where is this person taking my power? I feel out of control here. Okay, what is this reflecting back about me? And it's, you know, it's not always a straight line. It's not like, I'm dealing with a narcissist because I am a narcissist. You know what I mean? It's more like, what makes me want to engage with someone who can't give me what I'm trying to get? Why am I trying to get integrity out of someone who's not capable of integrity at this moment? Like, why am I trying to get love out of a person who's not capable of showing love that way? Or why am I trying to get this apple from an orange tree? Why am I drawn to people that reflect back to me that I'm bad or deficient? You know, why am I looking to a corrupt government to do the right thing? You know, why do I believe that the billionaires have why are these data centers being built everywhere? Why do we feel collectively obsessed with the idea of running out of water? You know what I mean? I've been hearing people talk about water wars and shit for over a decade now. Why do we collectively want to hit that fever pitch of scarcity? And like, of course you've got the greedy, but like the greedy are reflecting something back to all of us. If we're being affected by it, it is reflecting back. So like, what is it in me? Is it my own greed, or is it my own, subconscious belief in that, like subconsciously like the idea of someone outside of me causing something outside of my control, like getting into that introspection and understanding that all of that unconscious shit is being reflected back to us in reality. And that's how we're creating it. And so you can, this is why the law of attraction doesn't work for most people, is because you're trying to create things with the conscious part of your mind. And that's not where you create things. You create things with the mythology. And if you don't have any awareness of the mythology that you are, the story that you're subconsciously telling, then you're not, you're creating reality, but you don't know, not consciously. Yeah. And I think I probably want to go soon, but to go back to the intensity of the collapse, I think it's important to keep in mind that it's just going to be intense. I mean, the constructs of the Cross of Sleeping Phoenix, some of them are about authenticity and stuff, and so one of them is literally shock. You know what I mean? So it's just is going to be nonstop shock, and we are going to become people who become very resilient, or you're not going to make it, and we will rely on innovation where we used to rely on infrastructure, but it is all going to have to be self-sourced, and community is going to have to be something different, but the piece of this that is important to keep in mind is going to make it impossible to draw from history to see foretell what's coming, is that consciousness is shifting and changing, and we are gaining access to that hyperdimensional part of reality. And I think sometimes when I say that, people look out and they go, well, these people are all dumb. And it's like, yeah, those people don't matter. What's happening to your consciousness? What are you experiencing? That is going to make this like a game that you can, like, materially is becoming a lower on the rung of perception. Does that make sense? Like, don't underestimate the role of the, I hate the word ascension, but like ascension in this, the elevation of consciousness, the expansion is the freaking word I'm looking for. The expansion of consciousness, changing this game beyond the shocks that we're seeing in the physical reality.
Yeah. And I think some of the shock too, like, which gets wrapped up, for me, I get wrapped up in like, how are we going from across the planet, the Cross of Sleeping Phoenix in a smooth way, without it going back? I think that's what exists within this expansion of consciousness, is the mechanics change, the options open up, where you really can, I think we're going to start to see the quickness at which, like manifestation in the material world first comes from an idea and intuition, from that like feminine creativity, and then it through masculine action, it becomes more materialized and stable. That's always been the function, but because we're like don't have control over our subconscious, which is in that feminine, is creating like distorted reality. That when you start to heal that, and there are groups of people that come up and embody that expanded consciousness, things come in much quicker, and reality starts to become really fluid and quick, with which you're consciously creating from a balanced feminine energy into that balanced masculine. The things can, radically shift into a more harmonic environment, where when you're focused on this destruction and how do we put it all together, you're not in that other space of creating quickly in that feminine thing. And you can't fake it either. That's why it's like you don't have to worry about all these fucking corrupted people getting into the cross of Sleeping Phoenix and corrupt. It's like they different frequency.
Yeah.
And that's what sometimes is like, you gotta, at some point, the only exit hatch is through yourself into that world. Like there's no tricky stuff. There's no black magic. None of that is in that world. And to me, that's where the answers are of like, how does the infrastructure work? It's like, you would be surprised how quickly it can happen when everyone's in that frequency. It is a much more malleable material, physical reality that a lot of those problems can get solved pretty quickly.
I was saying on the Patreon episode, I've been doing this thing where I'm like, cats are Sleeping Phoenix, dogs are Cross of Planning, right? Not to say you're going to have one or the other, but just to say like the personality of a cat is across the Sleeping Phoenix personality, and the personality of a dog is across the Planning. And we recently got a roundabout here in our town where we did have a very difficult light. And I was thinking about how roundabouts are what I believe Cross the Sleeping Phoenix technology will have to be, because we are losing the ability to maintain infrastructure, I believe. So the light, the traffic light is like homogenized, standardized, and a lot of times very unintuitive for the area. Different lights work in different ways, but there's always a place in town where the light does not take into consideration how much traffic goes this one direction during one part of the day. So you just end up stuck in like 5 red light, green light cycles before you can get through. And then a roundabout, and then the lights only work if everyone obeys the law. So if someone doesn't obey the law, you can die trying to go through that light. And I'm very much someone who I stop at through streets all the time when someone has a stop sign on the other side, because I'm like, I don't assume that someone's going to stop at that stop sign. I've been T-boned because when I was, first got my driver's license, because that is just a big assumption that someone's going to stop at that fucking stop sign. It drives other people nuts. And so a roundabout is like, here's a piece of technology. It's not going to be maintained, and it does require everyone to fucking understand how a fucking roundabout works, which many people do not. And so it can be a clusterfuck because someone's not telling you what to do the way a traffic light tells you what to do. So it can either function very well if everyone understands how it works and takes it upon themselves to self-govern. And it can also be an absolute shit show if everyone doesn't. And that's just kind of the Cross the Sleeping Phoenix. There's not going to be someone here telling you what to do at every moment, because we're not all going to agree on anything anymore. And there's not an infrastructure to continue to manage you. You're going to have to manage yourself. And so if you end up in a roundabout behind a dumb fuck, which there's a lot of them, who doesn't know how the roundabout works, then that just kind of is what it is. It's like what happens when you're stuck behind someone who doesn't know how to use their agency, or self-govern.
No, I think that's bringing up that's a metaphor for like so much of reality. And it's the black cube thing. There's the most self-sustaining, the most coherent shape is a circle. We have a reality of squares. And it's literally in this goes into like sacred geometry, black magic. There's structure to everything in this reality that's built on squares for a purpose, because the square at the stop sign, which is you have 4 stops, needs another mechanism for it to function, which is rules and regulation and signage and symbols.
Oh, shit.
So all of the things there like create hierarchy and structures to be able to hijack and control people. And if you look at it with squares and everything in life, there's stagnation in it. Like you have a square house, all the energy's trapped in the room. When you're trying to make music in a square, it all traps in the corners. You have to like make it more circle, essentially, less angles, and then there's so much of the problems is because we're like living in a toroidal reality with a bunch of squares trying to like make it run and flow, and it can't. But a parasitic energy would do that because you need other mechanisms for the squares to work, essentially. So I can hijack all of that. But with the roundabout, it's funny because you actually, I mean, in most other countries, like being in foreign countries, traveling all over the world, roundabouts are kind of the norm for most places. And they intuitively function like you were saying, if somebody stops, they don't know the roundabout, so they've only been programmed with the rules. Where's the fucking stop sign? What do I do?
Yeah.
So they stop in the middle of a flowing thing.
Yeah.
The circle never loses its energy. There's no wasted energy in it. It comes back on itself. So if somebody comes in and they do stop, it doesn't stop the flow of the roundabout, actually. There's not a traffic stop. That person stops and they're stuck, but everybody else goes around them and continues to flow. And so the thing keeps moving out energy. It's such a profound thing. I mean, that is like exactly what is wrong with reality, is that we're all looking for the rules and the stop signs to function in a square reality. The circular thing, I think we're going to start seeing, we already are, more circular buildings, more circular geometry in building things and tech and stuff, because it really is, especially the like 3-dimensional circle, which is a donut, a toroidal field, that there is no loss of energy. It is a perpetual thing that never dies. And I think the profound thing that we're having to kind of realize is that we are a bunch of circles in a square world, and that has so much profound potential behind it. But we've been taught to be a square, and that therefore we're leaking energy constantly in seeking outside of ourselves. And so I've always, like, I was into this toroidal synergistic thing a long time ago, and applying it, seeing it elsewhere in reality. But I always knew I'm a toroidal field, and that this is how you have to get your Merkaba lit up and retain your energy and cycle it. And how do you do that? Oh, through chakras, through a fucking million different ideas of how to do it. But it has come back to me recently in this darkness, is that there is like that. I feel like that's what we're all doing in a certain way, is we're leaking energy somewhere, and we're having to figure out how to go into the subconscious and patch the goddamn hole. And I think that it's a huge key that will unlock, is that when we're doing that, the wasted energy is what is being harvested, obviously, everywhere. And when you're cut off that wasted energy, not only do you feel better and have more manifesting potential, you can't get programmed. And so the really patching the hole is deprogramming.
Yeah.
Right? Like everything, though. Like at least having the awareness that there is certain programs there that may still work and function in the reality, but those two are going to have to go at some point. Like the harder ones, like the idea of linear time or days in the week and shit that are like making the matrix function. Even those that we have to kind of still use every day to be able to look at them and go, at some point I'm going to have to drop that too. There is no time. There is no nothing,
Yeah.
But in the meanwhile, like, drop the ones that are like you don't need in reality right now, and those are all difficult and like trippy to get to let go of. But I think that's part of what's making it more possible to have a toroidal field of no leaking energy and no parasites that are slowly, sucking your life away, is what it feels like to me.
All right. Well, you can find Mark on his Patreon doing live streams most Friday nights.
Yeah, most Fridays. And then I've got a lot of sessions open if you want to talk to a dark motherfucker right now. I'll wallow in your darkness with you.
Anhedonic motherfucker.
Anhedonic.
I don't think I have sessions open. Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.